I almost had a miscarriage when I was 5 months pregnant. I found this out when I went to do a checkup at the gynecologist for a LEAP surgery I did the year before. During my checkup, the doctor realized that I was 2 centimeters dilated. I was immediately rushed to do an emergency cervical circlage. The circlage would have strengthened my weakened cervix and also prevent the premature delivery of my baby. Hello, everyone. I'm Dr. Shawnee Hardware. And if you're joining me for the first time, this is On Mothering, where I discuss my mothering journey. I'm an introverted, almost 40-year-old new mother, and I'm a professor who is on maternity leave. I took my partner's advice to do a video podcast instead of the audio that I've been doing all along, because I agree with him that this will enhance audience engagement. I'm reflecting on this topic now because this week I took my baby for his 4 months checkup, and I was told that he was meeting his milestones. And that made me think about what would have happened if I didn't have the Circlage and if I didn't have equity of access to healthcare services. Before doing the Circlage, the doctor told me the Circlage had a 60% chance of being successful. He reinforced that if I didn't do the Circlage, I would most likely have a miscarriage. And at 5 months old, there was no way of inducing labor because the baby would not have survived. So of course, I decided to do the Circlage. So what should have been a 2-hour checkup turned out to be an overnight stay at the hospital. I was put on bed rest and also given a note to stop working immediately. Luckily, by that time, I was employed full-time and had sick leave, which would have covered my 4 months off. Now, I'm acknowledging my privilege here because not many families, even in Canada, given the precarious nature of the economy, have access to a full-time permanent job and also sick leave. And many families, especially those who are Black, Indigenous, and racialized, are underemployed and would have struggled to support family members if they were on bed rest and unable to work. So it is essential for us to support programs that provide equity of access to health care for all families, especially those who are most vulnerable. I made it to 9 months. Everything was going fine until my baby's heart rate before delivery fell to 68 beats per minute. Now you can imagine the panic. The nurses in the room increased from 1 to 6, and the doctor was called to immediately help to deliver the baby. The doctor had to use a Forcep to speed up the delivery of the baby because everything was so crucial. So using the Forcep, and after 4 attempts, the baby was born. Now the Forcep is a suction that is attached to the baby's head to help to deliver the baby while the mother is pushing. Now, because my baby was delivered using a Forcep, he developed stiffness in the left side of his neck, which is torticollis. I think I'm mispronouncing that, but I consider myself being dyslexic or having some form of dyslexia, so you forgive me. So he developed this stiffness in his neck, and he was unable to turn his neck to the right, which meant that when he was sleeping, all of the time he was sleeping on the left side of his neck. This led to him developing flat-headedness. Now, before I was released, the lactation specialist had recommended that I see a chiropractor because she mentioned that normally when babies are born using a Forcep, they might have some difficulties with their muscles. So I took the baby to the chiropractor and he began receiving treatments. He also did a massage therapy. And at 2 months, because his stiffness was not improving and he was still not able to turn his head to the right side, the pediatrician recommended that I also do physiotherapy. So with treatment, he's now able to turn his head to the right side and also able to sleep on the right side. Now, I need to acknowledge my privilege in all of this because I recognize that I live in Canada And through taxes, I'm able to access free healthcare, or at least the healthcare services that's free to me, and I don't have to pay any money upfront. Because I know that if I had to pay money upfront, I probably would have become bankrupt. And also, I want to acknowledge the incredible services that I receive, because I know that perhaps my baby would have died if I didn't have access to good healthcare services. In addition to having the cervical circlage, I had to visit the high risk pregnancy, or the high risk clinic, every week to check up on my baby, where they monitored his heartbeat, etc. So without that, I strongly believe that my baby would have died. And my other privilege is that I had a full-time permanent job and I had sick leave. So by the time I was put on bed rest, I had enough sick leave combined with the holiday. Now, this was close to the Christmas period, so there was a 2-week break there. So enough sick leave combined with the holidays to ensure that I could have taken the 4 months off and still receive full-time pay. Now, you could imagine the horrors if I had to worry about paying my bills while trying to keep my baby alive. And again, I recognize for many families, this is very difficult, hence this topic. So I'm having this conversation because I think there's more that can be done to ensure that there's equity of access to social programs and to health programs for the most vulnerable. And what can we do? We can vote for political candidates, for parties that really push the agenda of ensuring that there's equity of access. And maybe when we vote for them, they don't do what they promise, but then we vote them out. We can also sign petitions that promote equity of access. We can volunteer at organizations if we have the time to ensure that, you know, they're supported through staffing, to ensure that they can do the work that they need to do to support more vulnerable families to access healthcare. We can also, if we have the money, donate to these organizations and causes that help to provide social programs and services, health services for families who are vulnerable or families who need these medical services. So there is a lot that we can do as individuals, but also as collective, to ensure that we continue to ensure that people who need healthcare, especially mothers, especially people who are pregnant, get access to healthcare. Because from my experience, I am 100% certain that without good healthcare, I would not have my child now. So let's continue the conversation. Let's continue the work in terms of advocacy. And let's continue talking about some of these issues around pregnancy and delivery, because many of the medical terms that I mentioned above, I did not know about them until my experience, or until my partner shared with his friends my experience. And two of them mentioned that, well, one mentioned that their partner had that experience, and another mentioned that they had that experience of having cervical circlage. And even recently, a well-educated friend of mine told me that they just found out about Forcep delivery, and they did not know about cervical circlage. So the conversation must continue. The conversation around miscarriages and rainbow baby must continue, so that more people are educated about these terms, and we are more informed as mothers or as expected mothers about what will happen once we go into delivery. That is it for now. Thank you for listening, or thank you for watching in this case. And I see you at the next one.